Long overdue video for you guys today. Violet fragrances. It's a top 20 list. You guys have been sending me messages, emails, comments, things like that asking me to do this video. You know, I've also been planning it. So finally, long overdue, but it's due and airing now. Top 20 Violet fragrances. If you're curious to find out about them, then please stay tuned. Thanks so much for tuning in. This is Sebastian. Yesterday we're talking about violet fragrances, either the violet flower or the leaves violet. So I have a lot more violet leaf fragrances. They tend to lean masculine. I am planning on doing a separate violet leaf focused fragrances video sometime within the month or two. I do have another one on the channel currently from about 3.5 years ago. You can go catch that in the meantime. But what I tried to do here is combine a good collection of fragrances, not only violets or violet leaves, or the violets and violet leaves together in fragrances, and we've got men's, unisex, and feminine targeted releases in this video. So let's go ahead and get started with the first one. At number 20, it's Cologne Blanche, this one right here. So I have this tiny bottle because I bought the little kit recently. It was a discovery kit of 3 fragrances from DIOR Privé. They launched it as a limited edition with Eau Noire, the new Eau Noire, and also Bois d'Argent. This is a Cologne Blanche. So they just launched these fragrances in the DIOR Privé collection, but only in 100 ml. So it doesn't look like they're going to come as a 250, but in the meantime, I have my 40 ml here from the kit. It is violets, amber, and orange blossom. It's kind of simplistic, but it's Cologne Blanche, meaning it's a, you know, white, pure cologne, fresh fragrance. But for me, I feel like this one's definitely got more deepness and depth to it, especially since it features violet and amber, along with that fresh citrus floral note of orange blossom that's sprayed when you first spray it. So it does have its freshness, but I feel like it goes deeper because of the violets and amber. Definitely goes powdery as well. So this is Cologne Blanche, starting the list off with that particular fragrance. Moving on to the Virgin Violet from the house of Gucci. Gucci's The Virgin Violet is violet candy. To me, this fragrance is a little minimalistic or linear, simplistic I should say. It's not a lot of notes and it wears like that, but definitely the experience is candy, violet candy. So we've got violet here, iris, musk, and vanilla, and the vanilla mixed with the violet creates this kind of candy-like touch, or it could just be that the type of violet they're using here has a violet candy-like smell to it. But definitely goes powdery, a little makeup-y, and of course musky and sweet vanillic. That's the Virgin Violet from the house of Gucci. That's from the Alchemist Garden collection of fragrances. Next, moving on to the house of Juliette Has a Gun. We've got a couple of lipstick themed fragrances in this video because these lipstick themed fragrances use violet. This is the first one from the house of Juliette Has a Gun. This is Lipstick Fever. This is very fruity in comparison to the other one, whereas the other one also has fruits, but this one is the fruity, more younger take on a lipsticky fragrance. Lots of raspberry here, a little candy-like. Also there's iris, there's cedar, vanilla, violet, and patchouli. So there's definitely the makeup lipstick vibe for this. In this particular fragrance, there's that fruitiness, and I think that fruitiness kind of gives it a very young and playful kind of a vibe to the fragrance. But it does have the violets, it's powdery, it does have the vanillic touches and makes it sweet, and also a little earthiness from the patchouli. So Lipstick Fever from the house of Juliette Has a Gun. Moving on to the house of Masque Milano at number 17, it's White Whale. Recently I featured this in a video, so I'm featuring it here. Once again, we've got violets, but to me violets are playing with the Osmanthus note in here, which makes it very fruity, and then also the Ambergris that's present in here as well. There's also Olibanum, but the violets, the flowers are in here, but I feel like there's also the leaves in this one. They don't credit the leaves, I just mentioned violet flower, because there's definitely watery ozonic touch here, and for me violet leaves creates ozonic watery touch. So we've got that here because it mixes with the ambergris and creates a kind of a marine water, sea kind of a touch to the fragrance, but along with a lot of fruits. The Osmanthus in here is fruity, stone fruit, peach, nectarines, plums, kind of like that kind of a fruitiness that's in this particular fragrance. But there's definitely lots of powdery touch here and some spices and woods as well. So this is White Whale from the house of Masque Milano. The next fragrance I'm talking about is the second lipstick fragrance, going to the house of Frederic Malle. It's Lipstick Rose. So as I was saying earlier, this one is the younger lipstick fragrance. This one's definitely the more mature lipstick fragrance. And even though Lipstick Rose does have fruitiness, it's not as fruity as the Lipstick Fever. But this is all violets, rose, musk, vanilla, amber, grapefruit, raspberry, and iris. I feel like when they put violet, rose, and iris together, it always creates a makeup lipstick type of a vibe. So that's basically what you get with a lot of these kind of fragrances, but definitely prominent here. And of course, as I said, it does have a little bit of fruitiness, and it has that vanilla and amber to create a kind of a balsamic ambery touch in the dry down, but it's very powdery with the violet and the rose and of course the iris as well. There's definitely the presence of musk in here too. This is Lipstick Rose from the house of Frederic Malle. Check that out if you don't know it. Frederic Malle is a great house. I still love it. Even though they're under Estee Lauder, I still love their fragrances. I think they're still pretty beefy fragrances to me. Next up, going to the house of XERJOFF. This is a male targeted release. This is MEFISTO GENTILUOMO, this one right here. So this particular fragrance is a modern fougere barbershop style fragrance. In fact, they have beard oil in this particular smell as well, which I use, I love. And sometimes when I wear the beard oil and I put a mask on, take it off, and then put that mask back on, I love that smell. It's very, very great because in here, there's a very green, aromatic, herbal, stemmy touch to the fragrance. Like, so you'll experience the fresh cut herbal stems and all the fragrance that, you can smell the fragrance from it. You get that kind of a vibe with this particular fragrance. But there's lots of powdery touch from violet here, along with citruses, lavender, there's orris, there's sandalwood, there's cedar, grapefruit, and amber. Eventually it becomes ambery. But it's a very, very fresh fragrance, really powdery, really a wonderful release from the house of XERJOFF. This is GENTILUOMO from the house of MEFISTO GENTILUOMO from the house of XERJOFF. Next is another male targeted release. This is going to the house of BRIONI. This is BRIONI EDP, this one right here. This is a brand new release that came out early 2021. The house relaunched fragrances, I guess under a new distributor. I don't know the technicality of that because they had fragrances in the past. And they focused on the violets here along with violet leaves. I believe they feature violet leaves as well. Because they credit ozonic accent in the notes for this. And I feel like violets provides that powdery floral touch. And then violet leaves provides that ozonic touch. I think they're using violet leaves here. Because the notes credit are violets, ozonic accent, ambroxan, pink peppercorn, crisp green apple, musk. Yeah, there's a little fruitiness here. It's a little fruity. Not as fruity as the intense version because they're fully going to towards like focusing on the apples, the green apple in that fragrance. This doesn't come off like full-on green apple, but there's definitely a crispness in here, a little tease of green apples in this one. But there's lots of ambroxan here. There's definitely spicy pink peppercorn, and of course some muskiness too. So this is BRIONI EDP. Great scent. If you haven't tried that one, definitely check it out. Lots of violets and violet leaves in that one. Moving on to the house of BYREDO, and the thing I want to say about BYREDO is, for me, BYREDO's DNA is violets. I don't know why I feel that, but I smell a lot of fragrances from BYREDO, and they all smell like there's violets throughout it. Especially this one, but even something like Bal d'Afrique, even though they don't really mention or credit the violets in that fragrance, I feel like there's violets in there, or it's the DNA, very violet forward DNA. This is BYREDO's RODEO. This is a boutique exclusive or online exclusive. And when you smell it, it smells like violet leaves with violets. Totally does. Lots of it. But this to me is a great leather fragrance, a fresh one. Suede leather. There's also leather. There's violets, vetiver, black amber. So the notes are really, really great. And it's also a very fresh leather fragrance. So if you're into the idea of leather, but you think leathers are too heavy, dark, weighty, animalic and things like that, try this one because I feel like it's freshened up. And even though they don't mention violet leaves, I get like a lot of violet leaf touch in here. So it's very fresh and ozonic. It's BYREDO's RODEO at number 13. Moving on to the house of DUSITA, Perfumes DUSITA. It's SPLENDIRIS, this one right here. SPLENDIRIS to me is lots of violets, lots of violet leaves, and lots of iris along with carrot seeds. It's a powder bomb. Violets create powdery touch. Orris or iris creates powdery touch. Carrot seeds does. Carrot seeds kind of smells like iris as well. So it's just a total powder bomb to me. But along with the violets, there's that violet leaves as I mentioned, so there's some freshness here, some ozonic touches in addition to like green fig leaf. There's rose here, there's vanilla, ambergris, vetiver, jasmine, bergamot. Very complex fragrance, but if you're into the idea of iris, orris, violet leaves, carrot seeds, definitely gotta check out Splendiris from the house of Perfumes DUSITA at number 12. Next, moving on to the house of Théo Cabanel, we're talking about Je ne sais quoi, this one right here. Je ne sais quoi is a powder bomb, but a nutty powder bomb with violets. I get lots of violets here along with violet leaves. They're crediting violet leaves, but for me I get a violet powdery touch with this one. But there's also the addition of sencha tea, grilled rice grains, sesame seeds, hazelnuts, sandalwood, tolu balsam, and vetiver. It's quite delicious, very powdery, very modern with a little bit of a classic edge to it, but it's a wonderful fragrance focusing on violets and violet leaves. So you've got that powdery touch here, loads of it, along with that kind of ozonic freshness from the leaves. Je ne sais quoi from the house of Théo Cabanel at number 11. So one of the things I've noticed is violets really work well with leather, and I don't have a lot of violet fragrances that are featuring leather as well, but that next one definitely is. And this is a fragrance house I recently discussed on the channel. This is JUS Parfums. This is Cuirassime, this one right here, with this most gorgeous violet colored bottle. Violet colored. This to me is all leather, very leathery, full on leather, but with the addition of violet along with violet leaves. There's iris concrete here, amber extreme, there's hedione, there's also astratone. So the combination is musky, it's floral. There's also the amber woods touch here with the amber extreme, and then of course lots of powder. Leather, violet leaves, and the iris all really working beautifully together. And for me, this one also a little bit reminds me of the Virgin Violet from Gucci, because as I said, this one was all very violet candy, and there's definitely a bit of violet candy touch in this leather. And leather violet's really great. I'm really digging the idea of leather and violets. I'm going to really explore more fragrances with leather and violets in the future. But for now, this is a great solid release, Cuirassime from the house of JUS Parfums, or Jus Parfums. Moving on to the house of Artiste. This is Alexandra, this one right here. Another one that's violets and leather. Oh yeah, very much so. But Alexandra also has very much ambery touches, so it dries down kind of sweet and ambery. And again, it's got that kind of violet candy-like vibe in here. They only credit violet leaves in this one, but I feel like there's the addition of the flowers in this as well. But it's violet leaves, Russian leather, neroli, balsam fir, musk, birch tar, orris, oak moss, and aldehydes. So there's definitely this kind of aldehydic presence here, but kind of like lift. It gives it a lift and airiness, but the addition of the smokiness from the birch tar, and then of course the Russian leather to give it a more of a leather vibe in this particular fragrance. So it's leather, violet leaves together. As I was saying, it really does work well together, and they've done a great job here. Really dig this one, and I'd like to explore this house a little further. This is Artiste Alexandra. Check that one, or Alexandra, whatever it is. But moving on to the house of Mancera, it's Oud Violet, this one right here. Just bought that one from somebody, so I paid like 80 bucks or 75 bucks. A good deal on it on this one, because somebody was getting rid of it, and it was perfect timing because I wanted to feature some Mancera in this video as well. So this was kind of a blind buy when I bought it, but I do like it. I do, experience the violets here, and I feel like we've got that violet flower here, so it's very, very powdery, but there's definitely the presence of kind of like damp woods touch in this one, and I think it's coming from the oud that's in here. So we've got violet, amber, patchouli leaves, white musk, vetiver, spices, oud, fresh herbs, and bergamot. So it's spicy, it's aromatic. There's definitely the presence of musk in this, and earthiness. Definitely lots of violets for sure. It's definitely an amber dry down. Oud Violet. It's from the house of Mancera at number 8. The second Frédéric Malle fragrance is a fragrance created by Maurice Roussel. It's Dans Tes Bras, this one right here. Dans Tes Bras is Maurice Roussel created fragrance. He's got Musc Ravageur along with this one and the new Uncut Gems, which is coming out. Hopefully I'll report back with that one very soon. I hope to do a video on it. This is total violet bomb. It's like major, lots of violets. It's the violet come to life. There's definitely the makeup-y presence in here, like the makeup-y touch presence in here, with a lot of musk. There's pine, there's cashmeran, heliotrope, there's woods, sandalwood, patchouli, incense, and jasmine. So there's lots of earthy touches here, definitely the earthy touches. And a little smokiness does run throughout it. Definitely does, but it's a wonderful fragrance. Probably my second favorite next to Musque Ravageur from the Maurice Roussel created fragrances, but let's see what Uncut Gems is going to be like. I hear that's going to be totally masculine leaning, and this might be kind of on the feminine leaning side. Either way, Dans tes bras from the house of Frederic Malle at number 7. Next up, going to the house of Etat Libre d'Orange. This is True Lust, this one right here, in this most beautiful red bottle. I bought this like earlier this year or late last year off the Etat Libre d'Orange USA website. It was a buy one, get one for free bottle deal. I love kind of deals like that, and I love taking advantage of them. And I'm glad I did, because Dahlia has this fragrance, and I really loved it on her and the way it wears. It's another leather violet combo, and I absolutely love it. So this might be kind of also similar to Alexandra, this one right here from Arquiste, but I feel like Alexandra kind of is the masculine leaning one, and True Lust is a little bit more feminine leaning one. But really love the way this smells on me, because there's the presence of cumin, so it's a bit sweaty, musky, but it's leather, violet, rum, coconut, rose, osmanthus, ylang ylang, sandalwood, and ambergris. There's definitely the animalic qualities here, light, not too much, but the presence of cumin is really what does it for me in this one. I absolutely love cumin in fragrances, and I like the appearance of it in fragrances. It doesn't have to be full-on in-your-face cumin, but a little bit of it that pops through is just really magic for me in fragrances. So True Lust from the house of Etat Libre d'Orange is fantastic. Check that out. Moving on to the house of Maison Violet. This is Purpur d'Automne, this one right here. I should put it this way because the writing is down here. Purpur d'Automne is Maison Violet's violet fragrance. It's lots of violets once again. We've also got iris, and we've also got violet leaves. So these notes work really wonderfully together. And they've also thrown in the rose, and then when the rose comes in, really goes fully kind of makeup-y. And also very powdery. So these 4 notes really work wonderfully in this one. There's definitely the airiness in this one. It's almost like when ladies are in their dressing room putting on makeup, and that makeup powder kind of floats in the air. That's how the fragrance wears on me. So in addition to all the notes I mentioned so far, we've got musk, peach, plum, oak moss, and benzoin. So yeah, it does have an ambery dry down, a little fruitiness as well, but it's a wonderful fragrance. It's not my favorite fragrance from this house, because Un Air d'Apogée is definitely my favorite, which I've featured in my Scent Club kit number 2. But this one's definitely solid. Check it out, especially if you're a fan of violets. This is Purpur d'Automne from the house of Maison Violet. Next fragrance is from the house of Maison Francis Kurkdjian this time. This is Oud Satin Mood, this one right here. So Oud Satin Mood is oud, but for me I feel like the rose and the violet here are much more prominent than the oud. They really work wonderfully together. And even though this has the oud, the rose, the violet, plus vanilla, amber, and benzoin, there's definitely a kind of a makeup-y vibe here. If you haven't noticed it, put your nose on it and really study it and see. It really does appear. I feel like it's more about the rose and the violets than the oud, even though it's called Oud Satin Mood. And that, you know, vanilla in here kind of gives it a sweeter vibe. Definitely a solid release. And eventually it becomes ambery and balsamic in the dry down. Wonderful release. Probably the most popular oud fragrance from Maison Francis Kurkdjian. It's Oud Satin Mood from the house of Maison Francis Kurkdjian at number 4. Next, going to the house of Olfactive Studio. It's a violet shot, this one right here. So this one, to me, I feel like it's a distant relative to something like Dior's Fahrenheit Parfum. Not the original, but the Parfum version. Because there's definitely the sweetness in here, and kind of like a ambery touch. And of course, the original didn't have that, the Parfum does. So it's violet leaves, green grass, vanilla, patchouli, labdanum, mandarin, pink pepper, and safraline. And they don't mention violet, and it's called Violet Shot. They mention violet leaves. I feel like there's definitely the presence of violets in here as well. Really does, because I get a little bit of a violet candy vibe in this. But the vanilla and also the labdanum creates the ambery touch, and that's kind of how I get the kind of Dior Fahrenheit Parfum connection. And that the fact that they have safraline, it's a molecular or a synthetic form of saffron, which creates a leatheriness It just kind of totally takes me there. Like, it's not identical, but if you're looking for an alternative to DIOR, not DIOR Parfum, I've got that fragrance on my mind. Fahrenheit Le Parfum, definitely check out Violet Shot. It's a great scent created by Dominique Ropion, and this brand is hardly ever spoken about, but definitely a solid house. It's Violet Shot at number 3. Moving on to the house of Armani. I don't speak about this house much either. This is Queer Amethyst, this one right here. So this one, to me, is a very unique smell in that it's lots of violets, but there's this nuttiness in there, and an almost like taking an amber styling of a fragrance and chopping it up with the nuts, some kind of like nuts, like walnuts and hazelnuts, even almonds, mixing it all up together and throwing in some musk as well, the smell of the musk, and that's what you get with this fragrance, right? But don't forget, it's a violet fragrance. You got lots of violets here, and you also have leather. There's definitely the leather experience here as well. So it's violet, birchwood, benzoin, labdanum, patchouli, vanilla, coriander, rose, and bergamot. And I'm not going to forget to say this, when a lot of these notes are combined, you do get a makeup-y vibe, and this one does that as well. So not only do you have this kind of ambery, nutty paste thing happening, you got this leathery touch here, you've got, of course, powderiness, and then the makeup styling as well. Very unique fragrance. I love this one. It's Queer Amethyst from the house of Armani. That is at number 2. Can you guess my number 1? We're going to the house of Marc-Antoine Barrois. It's a Ganymede. So this is a fragrance that they credit of violets here. I feel like in addition to the violets, we got a lot of violet leaves in this one. But I mean, that's the experience I get with it, because there's this fresh ozonic touch. The brand uses a lot of violets, except for the last fragrance. The Ensalade is not very violet, if at all. I think it's kind of replaced with rhubarb, that kind of ozonic freshness from the violet leaves. But this is suede. There's leather, there's violets, there's mandarin orange, saffron, osmanthus, akigala wood. So there's definitely a minerally ozonic touch in here, lots of it. There's a freshness. And I mentioned it earlier, you do get a little fruitiness from violet leaves as well. And that's kind of why I feel like this has or features violet leaves in addition to the violets. Definitely powdery and very, very musky as well, and leather definitely is present in this fragrance. I absolutely love it, and I think there's a lot of fans of this one. I think it's very, very loved in the community, and it definitely needs to be at number 1. So Marc-Antoine Barrois Ganymede at number 1, and that's the last fragrance for you guys today. What are your thoughts on this list? Are you a fan of violets? Do let me know. I didn't ask you at the beginning. Although since I receive a lot of messages asking me to do this list, I feel like there's a lot of fans of violet fragrances. But do let me know if you have a favorite violet fragrance. If it was featured in this video, let me know what you think about these fragrances. And also let me know if it's not featured here, which violet fragrances I should check out in the future. Anyway guys, thanks so much for watching today's video. If you have any questions or comments, please do list below. Please like this video, please share it, follow me on Instagram and Facebook, and I'll be back with more videos very soon. Have a good one. Goodbye. I do have one bonus fragrance for you guys today. This is going to the house of Kiton, and it's a men's fragrance. This is Kiton Men, this one right here. So this is definitely a very powdery, violet forward fragrance, also very classy and gentlemanly. It's a perfect fragrance for someone to wear kind of in an office setting where you don't want a lot of very loud and overwhelming fragrances. It's definitely the powdery style, and there's a little bit of fruitiness and floral touch in here, and of course it does have citruses and woods. It's fantastic. It's violets, pineapple, musk, lily of the valley, bergamot, sage, lemon, cedar, and oak moss. If you haven't tried Kiton, it's been fairly inexpensive for the last several years. Go get it now, especially if you're on the budget and you want a very classy fragrance and you're into the idea of violets. Definitely worth getting. Kiton Men is the bonus fragrance for you guys today. And as I was saying, in a month or 2 I'll do a violet leaves focused video. Some of the fragrances will be featured from this list, and then also there's a lot of fragrances I left off. There's some classics and just specifically violet leaf focused. Today is all about violets, as I said. But as I said, also please put a comment down, let me know what your favorite violet fragrances are. Anyway, thanks so much. Bye bye.